When a man starts falling for you, his presence begins to mean something different. It's no longer just about spending time together because it's convenient or because it fits into his schedule. It becomes intentional. It becomes purposeful. He starts showing up in ways that feel grounded, not rushed. He doesn't just appear when he wants company or when life is easy. He chooses to be either when he's busy, tired, or uncertain. Because suddenly your presence feels like peace to him. It feels like something real, something worth protecting, something he doesn't want to risk losing. And men don't invest their time like that unless something deep is shifting inside them. You notice in the little choices he makes. He drives across town just to sit with you for an hour. He calls instead of texting because he wants to hear the tone of your voice. He rearranges his plans not in a way that sacrifices his life, but in a way that integrates you into it. You go from being an option that fits somewhere in his day to being someone he intentionally makes space for. That's the quiet beginning of emotional commitment. Not loud, not dramatic. Just steady, consistent presence that tells you he's not here by accident. He's here because you mean something. It's not about constant attention or being glued to you. That's infatuation, not falling. When a man is falling deeply, his presence has weight, substance, reliability. He doesn't vanish when life gets stressful. If anything, that's when he leans closer because he's learning that connection isn't a distraction. It's support. It's grounding, it's motivation. And he starts to feel like you're not just someone he enjoys being around, you're someone who makes his world feel more aligned. And the truth is, men don't change their routines easily. They don't shift habits or priorities unless they feel something real. So when he starts showing up with intention, it's not casual, it's emotional, it's personal. Something in him is saying, this matters, she matters. You'll see him planning ahead, wanting to share experiences, thinking about how his choices affect you too. He's not just fitting you into his life, he's beginning to build space for you in it. But here's the most powerful part. His presence stops feeling transactional and starts feeling emotional. He's not with you because it benefits him in that moment. He's with you as being near you feels like home. Even if he hasn't figured out the language for it yet, his energy says it loudly. He sits a little closer, he listens a little deeper. He notices when you're quiet and checks in, not because he's obligated, but because your emotional world suddenly matters to him. And don't be surprised if you even catch him looking at you when you're not paying attention. That soft, almost vulnerable look men have when they realize someone is becoming important. The moment when admiration turns into attachment, when presence turns into meaning, when choosing you becomes instinct, not effort. His presence was what his heart hasn't fully spoken yet. I want to be here with you, not just now, but always. When a man is falling for you, something subtle but incredibly powerful starts happening. He begins to remember the things about you that most people overlook. Not because he's trying to impress you, not because he's performing, because he genuinely cares. Your world becomes fascinating to him. The tiniest details, the smallest preferences, the stories you share in passing, they don't slip away. They stick to him. They mean something. They matter. You'll notice it in moments where you don't expect anything special. Maybe you mentioned once that you love your tea a certain way, and suddenly that's exactly how he brings it next time. Or you casually talked about a childhood dream, something almost forgotten, and weeks later he brings it up, not as a joke, not in passing, but as if he's been thinking about it too. This is a man whose heart is quietly remembering you. Not the surface you, the deeper, softer, real you. And what's so beautiful about this stage is he's not just paying attention to facts, he's paying attention to feelings. Energy, to the things that shape you internally. It's the way your voice softens when you talk about someone you care about, the way your eyes cloud when something waves on your heart. He starts reading your silence as much as your words. He's not just observing, he's absorbing. Because when a man starts falling, listening becomes love in motion. Think about it. Anyone can notice the obvious things about you, your style, your laugh, your beauty. But a man who is falling pays attention to the world behind your eyes. He remembers the things that make your soul curve, the song you said healed you at a tough moment, the book that changed how you see love, the small ruds that make teens that make you feel safe. To him, these aren't random details, they're pieces of you. And he collects them almost instinctively, like someone trying to learn the language of your heart. He also starts adapting without even realizing he's doing it. If he knows you get overwhelmed in loud places, he naturally guides you toward quieter corners. If he knows you love feeling heard, he slows his pace when you speak. If he knows certain dates or memories are tender for you, he navigates them with care. It's not grand gestures. It's alignment, real emotional alignment. He wants to love you the way you feel loved, not just the way he's used to giving love. There's a softness in him when he does this, a patience. Because listening isn't just about curiosity anymore. It's a connection. It's his heart making space for yours, his presence creating room for your truth. Men don't do that casually. They don't do that unless something in them is shifting from interest to emotional investment. The truth is, when When a man remembers the details, he's telling you he sees you, not the version the world sees, the real you, the you behind the guard, behind the smiles, behind the story you've learned to tell. He listens not just to understand you, but to hold you. And in those moments and in that quiet remembering, love is already speaking. When a man starts falling deeply, there's a shift inside him that he almost can't control. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, it's subtle. It's the quiet softening of walls he never lets anyone touch. Men are taught to protect their emotion, to guard their vulnerabilities like their weaknesses. But when he's falling, those shields begin to loosen, not because he decides to let them go, but because your presence feels safe enough for him to put them down. And you notice it not in the grand moments, but in the small cracks where honesty slips through. He tells you about something that scared him when he was younger. He admits insecurity he usually jokes his way around. He shares the thing he worries people won't understand about him. It's not rehearsed. It's not strategic. It just comes out because for the first time he doesn't feel judged. He feels seen. And men only open up when they feel safe in that way. There's this moment, and you'll recognize it when it happens, the moment he realizes you aren't just someone he enjoys, you're someone he wants to trust. And trust for a man is not about control or confidence. It's about surrender. It's about letting someone into the places he's worked so hard to protect. When he starts talking about his fears, his family, his disappointments, his mistakes, not in a surface way, but in that raw, unfiltered tone, that's him saying, I'm letting you closer than I let most people, and vulnerability doesn't always look like tears or deep talks. Sometimes it looks like telling you he had a bad day instead of pretending he's fine. Sometimes it's him asking for advice when he normally handles things alone. Sometimes it's him saying, I don't know, when he's used to being the one who has answers. With you, he doesn't feel the pressure to be invincible. With you, he gets to be human, and that's rare for him. That's sacred. You might even notice moments where his tough exterior slips and you see the softness underneath, the boy he once was, the hope he still carries, the parts of him he's been protecting for so long. He might try to catch himself, apologize for opening up too much, laugh it off, change the subject for a second, because falling feels unfamiliar and vulnerability feels risky. But he keeps coming back to it with you. He keeps trusting. He keeps showing piece of himself because it feels natural, not forced. And something beautiful happens here. His guard isn't dropping because he's losing control. It's dropping because he finally feels understood. You're not asking him to be perfect. You're inviting him to be real. And real love grows in that space, not in constant confidence, but in soft honesty. So when he starts letting you see him not just in his strength, but in his uncertainty, when he stops performing and starts sharing, when he lets silence sit instead of filling it with humor or distraction, that's when you know something deep is happening. Those walls don't fall for just anyone. They fall for someone who feels like home. When a man starts falling deeply, protection stops being about physical strength or posturing. It becomes emotional. It's not about standing in front of danger. It's about standing beside your peace. And this shift happens quietly. He begins to care not just about your safety, but about your calm, your emotional comfort, your inner world. He isn't trying to control your life. He's trying to support your balance. That's the difference. Control is fear. Protection with presence is love. You'll notice it in the way he speaks to you. There's more patience, more care in how he responds, especially in moments of tension. He doesn't want to become a source of stress in your life. He wants to become a grounding presence. So instead of reacting fast, he starts listening slower. Instead of arguing to win, he communicates to understand. He starts choosing clarity over chaos, peace over ego, effort over pride. Because when a man is falling, hurting you emotionally doesn't just feel wrong. It feels like hurting himself. There's a softness in how he approaches disagreements. He doesn't shut down. He doesn't disappear. He doesn't punish with silence. He wants resolution, not distance. You matter too much to risk disconnect. So even if he needs time to think, he comes back. He re-engages. He says things like, I don't want us to misunderstand each other, or let's talk about this. It's not because conflict is easy, but because losing emotional connection with you feels harder. And you'll see it in how he handles your emotions too. When you're tired, overwhelmed, or anxious, he doesn't roll his eyes or shame you for feeling. He stays. He sits with you in that space, even when he doesn't have all the right words. He tries to comfort, to understand, to create stability. Men who are falling in love don't want to fix your emotions. They want to support them, to be a quiet strength beside you, not the reason you break. He also becomes more protective of the energy around you. You're not in a possessive way, but in a respectful, intentional way. If he sees someone speaking to you with disrespect, he doesn't stay silent. If he feels you're being taken advantage of, he encourages boundaries. If something in your life drains you, he notices before you even say it. And he doesn't jump in to control the situation. He helps you protect yourself, because true emotional protection isn't about ownership. It's about partnership. And sometimes protection looks like giving you space to, letting you breathe, letting you process, letting you exist without pressure. He doesn't cling to you out of fear. He supports you out of trust. He understands that peace isn't about being together every second. It's about knowing the connection is safe even in silence. That's emotional maturity. That's falling deeply, not desperately. The beautiful part is he starts protecting your peace even when you aren't watching. He speaks about you with respect when you're not around. He doesn't share your vulnerabilities carelessly. He honors your story. That's a man who cares. That's a man with emotional integrity. Real care isn't loud, it's loyal. So when he stops trying to win, stops trying to prove, and starts prioritizing harmony, presence, patience when you're emotional well-being becomes something he actively nurtures, not something he overlooks. That's not casual interest. That's love quietly choosing you every single day. When a man starts falling deeply, something very powerful shifts inside him. His love stops being about having you and starts being about seeing you become the fullest version of yourself. It's not possessive. It's not about keeping you small so you stay close. It's about wanting to witness your expansion, your evolution, your growth. Because when he sees real potential and when he truly admires who you are, he doesn't fear your wings. He admires them. He supports them. He becomes someone who stands beside your dreams, not in front of them. You can feel this shift in the way he speaks to you. He's not just complimenting your beauty or your smile. He begins to admire your character, your ambition, your resilience. He sees how hard you work, how deeply you care, how passionately you pursue the things that matter to you. And instead of feeling threatened by your strength, he's inspired by it. A man who's falling deeply sees your growth as something beautiful, not something dangerous. You'll notice that he becomes curious about your goals, your vision for your future, your passions. He asks questions, not to fill silence, but because he genuinely wants to understand where your heart wants to go. And when you speak about something you want, a business idea, a dream trip, a personal transformation, you'll feel him leaning in. He doesn't shrink your dreams with doubt. He expands them with belief. He encourages you to imagine bigger, to trust yourself more, because seeing you rise doesn't diminish him, it fuels him. And this support doesn't only show up in words, it shows up in how he behaves. When you doubt yourself, he becomes a steady voice reminding you of who you are. When you feel overwhelmed, he offers reassurance, perspective, sometimes even silence, the kind of silence that holds you, not abandons you. He celebrates your victories, even the small ones. And when you lose or struggle, he doesn't pull away. He doesn't shame you for not having everything figured out. He stands there, steady, patient, proud of the journey you're on, not just the results you produce. A man falling deeply doesn't compete with your growth. He doesn't try to outrun you, overshadow you, or keep you beneath him. His love isn't threatened by your rising, it aligns with it. Because a man who truly loves doesn't want to dim your light. He wants to share in the glow. He wants to walk beside you with strength, not insecurity. And if he ever feels fear or inadequacy along the way, he works through it instead of trying to pull you down. That's emotional maturity. That's real partnership energy, not possession, not dominance, but evolution together. And the truth is, this kind of love makes you feel safe to grow, safe to change, safe to step into your power without worrying that you'll lose him in the process. He doesn't punish you for shining. He doesn't disappear when you rise. He roots for you loudly, softly, consistently, because loving you doesn't mean holding on tight. It means holding space wide. It means believing in the person you are becoming just as deeply as he loves the person you already are. So when he starts supporting your dreams, when he sees your future not as a threat to his place in your life, but as a path he wants to cheer you through, when his love opens doors instead of closing possibilities, that's when you feel it. He's falling not for who he wants you to be, but for who you are and who you're becoming. There's a moment in a man's heart where he realizes he's falling, and with that realization comes a quiet fear, not of you, but fear of losing you. But it's not insecurity, it's depth. It's the awareness that something rare is unfolding, something he doesn't want to break, something he can't just replace. And suddenly, everything he does carries a little more intention, a little more presence, a little more care. But what separates a man who's falling deeply from a man who's just attached is that even in that fear, he loves you courageously anyway. You feel it in the way he shows up. Not perfectly, not flawlessly, but sincerely. He doesn't run at the first sign of emotional risk. He doesn't disappear because feelings get complicated. Instead, he leans into them even when he doesn't fully know how. He might hesitate. He might take a deep breath before opening up. He might pause before saying something vulnerable. But he says it because his heart is not trying to hide. It's trying to grow. And what's beautiful about this stage is that he's not loving you with desperation. He's loving you with devotion. He doesn't cling, demand. He doesn't need to own you to feel secure. Instead, he values the connection so much that he wants to NRTUR it, not control. There's a calm intensity in his presence. You'll see him double, checking that you're okay, noticing when your mood shifts, caring in small, consistent ways. His effort becomes a language. His presence becomes reassurance. His steadiness becomes comfort. But falling deeply also brings a different kind of courage, the courage to let you see him. The parts he fears might not be enough, the parts he normally hides from the world, the cracks, the doubts, the soft edges. He lets them surface with you. That's not weakness. That's trust. That's him choosing vulnerability over armor, connection over protection. And he'll do it even though it scares him, because not being real with you scares him more. Sometimes he might stumble through this part. He might get awkward. He might pull back for a moment to catch his breath emotionally. He might navigate feelings like someone stepping into unfamiliar territory. But watch his action. He comes back. He reopens. He keeps trying. A man who's falling deeply doesn't give up when it feels vulnerable. He leans in because it matters. You'll also notice he begins to care about being someone you can rely on, not to impress you, but because he wants to be part of the life you're building, and he wants to do it in a way that feels grounded. He starts showing you not just his feelings, plans, but his intentions, plans, commitment, energy, future thinking. He doesn't rush you. He doesn't pressure. He simply lets you feel that he's here. Present, willing, choosing this, choosing you. It's a quiet, steady form of devotion. It's a man saying without words, I'm not going anywhere. And yes, falling deeply means he's aware he could get hurt. He knows love is risky, but he also knows the risk is worth it, because loving you, truly loving you, feels more powerful than the fear of losing you. And that's what makes it real. That's what makes it rare. When a man starts loving you even through his fear, you don't just have his attention, you have his heart.